Yay! Welcome in, everybody. Sienna and I were trying to get music to play, but it was not working. So we had like Earth Angel, that really nice Motown song playing. So just imagine that in your head as we're opening ASTRO-SOMATICS. But thank you all for being here. Today is Sunday, April 27th. It's 12 p.m. Central Time in Milwaukee, 10 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. And I'm super excited to be here. Sienna and I have been planning this for about a month now, and it just feels really good to be able to finally do it. Just letting you all know, we are recording this session. We have a lot of folks who signed up who aren't able to make it in person, but will access the recording. You'll get a copy of the recording too after the event, hopefully later today or tomorrow at the latest. And just wanted to let you know that that was happening. So I'm going to get started with my portion. I'm doing a Sunday sermon, quote unquote, as well as a little astro take about what's happening with this new moon. And then in about 30 minutes, Sienna's going to take over and lead us through a movement meditation, which I'm really excited for. But first, I want to do some introductions. So I'm going to go first, and then Sienna, I'll pop it over to you for a minute to introduce yourself. But my name is Aryn the Alchemist. My pronouns are they, them. I am an astrologer, I'm a writer, I'm a witch. The work that I'm doing right now is I'm trying to help creatives build their dream practice, and I'm creating some offerings to fit with that coming soon. I'm also a narrative spinner and a community curator. I love to host things like this. I'm starting to get into hosting things in person in Milwaukee as well. And I'm also a co-host on Soul Connections, which is a podcast about astrology. And also we interview awesome people, and it really centers on what lights us up. So I do that with my co-hosts, Danny and Emily. And I'm releasing some exciting community offers and specialized reading soon. And at the end of this, I'll have my links as well as Sienna, so you can connect with us after. Sienna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sienna. I am originally from Idaho, but now I live in Los Angeles. My primary gig right now is I'm a Pilates instructor, and I'm really passionate about bringing somatic awareness to my students and connecting them with their breath and their bodies. I'm also a creative writer. I started making music, dancer, choreographer, seamstress, flower arranger, jack of all trades. So those are the main points, and I'm really glad to be here.
Yay. Multidisciplinary over here. I love it. All right, so before we start like the official Astro sermon, I mean, I guess this is part of it. I want to open the space with some breath. Breath is really important. I feel like it's something we take for granted, but when we are intentional about it, it really can set us up for just success. That's not really the right word. It can set us up to really just be present in the moment. So I'm going to lead us through a little breath work. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. We'll pause and hold for a couple seconds, and I'll lead us through that. But first, I just want you to find a space where you're comfortable. Maybe that's where you're sitting on a chair. Maybe you're sitting on the floor, but just take a moment to connect with your body. Do a little body scan. How are you feeling? Is there certain parts of your body that feels more tense than others? So once you are finding a comfortable position, I'd invite you to take an inhale through your nose, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale. Another inhale through your nose, hold, and exhale. Last one, inhale, hold, and exhale. Next, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. This is important always, but this is a Taurus new moon. Taurus is so connected to the earth, and what better way to honor the new moon as well as indigenous communities all over the world, but specifically in the United States where we are. Um, and I think being in the United States, it's really important to do these land acknowledgements. I remember when I was in college and first learning about this, I was like, well, what's the point of this? I don't quite understand the significance. I think part of it is just recognition that there were other people before European colonizers were here or settlers. So I am going to share a little bit about some information that I learned and drop this link of this really cool project in Milwaukee as well. And as you're listening, I encourage you to think about, do you know about the Indigenous communities that were in the place that you are? If not, I encourage you to do some research. It's actually quite interesting to learn the history of it. And I also think too, in my process of connecting more with my ancestors, I'm reading this interesting book called Ancestral Medicine by Daniel Four. I'd highly recommend it. And he talks too about how, we have ancestors and spirits, but there's also spirits of the land, spirits of literally like plants and flowers and birds and bees. And also there are ancestral spirits that are connected to the land that we're in. And I think it's important to honor them. So Milwaukee in particular is an ancestral home to quite a few indigenous tribes throughout history, including the Ho-Chunk and the Menominee, the Potawatomi, and even migrant Ojibwe and Ottawa peoples were here at some point as well. And there's pretty rich history of that. There's a project called Indigenize Milwaukee, which I will drop in the chat a little bit later, but it's really cool. It has like a map and you can click around and see like significant areas of Milwaukee that have indigenous history. So just wanted to encourage folks to look into that on their own time. And lastly, before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our bodies. This is a Taurus new moon. This is so connected to bodies and our physical self. And our bodies do so much for us. They carry us, they contain us, they house us, they make sure we're not like just like spilling organs and bones and muscles and stuff. Our meat suits are precious. They're kind of disgusting, but precious nonetheless. They deserve recognition for all that they do. Shout out to our brains. They are making decisions, delegating movements to our body. Shout out to our bones that hold us, that support us, and our muscles as well for our ability to move. And lastly, like shout out to the receptivity of our nerves. I've been going to a chiropractor and their whole practice is reconnecting certain parts of our bodies to our nervous system. So that being said, I want to affirm that this is a space, whether you're here live or watching later on, where your body can be a body. And I know this is virtual, but we're still bodies in a space. So do what you need that's best for your body, whether that means taking a break from this, stepping away, turning your camera on and off, getting water, food, whatever your body needs. Because this is a Taurus new moon after all. This is such a beautiful, stunning, exalted, grounded lunar energy. And when I say exalted, in ancient astrology, there are different planets that have different positions within certain signs. So exalted has a very powerful, typically positive manifestation when the moon, which is a planet of emotion and our interior worlds, like emotions are volatile. They come and go. The moon reflects that. When it's in Taurus, a very stable, consistent, solid sign, the moon isn't as flippant or like swayed by those tendencies. So it has that almost exalted goddess expression of that energy. Because of this, the moon is well resourced in Taurus. And Taurus governs the material realm. It's an earth sign. It's connected to the literal earth or the things that make up our material reality. Some other keywords that I think of when Taurus comes to mind is beauty and nourishment, connection. It's ruled by Venus, security. And I think some of Taurus' strengths is that they have stamina, stability, and sustainability is really important to them. And I think that energy is very helpful when you're trying to make an impact, especially over a long period of time. Now, this new moon in Taurus is ruled by Venus. What I mean by that, because it's a Taurus energy, we look to the ruler of Taurus, which is Venus. I'll share the chart of this lunation a little bit later, but Venus is ruling this lunation. So that means we can look, okay, where is Venus? What is Venus doing? Venus is in Pisces, another exalted placement. So again, we have this goddess energy. It's if you're familiar with tarot, it's kind of reminding me of High Priestess and Empress vibes together. So this is a very like creative, activating, imaginative, world building kind of energy. So I want you to hold this positive weight in the strengths of this lunation because I want to talk about turbulence now. There's a lot of turbulence astrologically speaking, and I think it's important to reflect that, typically astrology isn't all just perfect or great or good or even just like bad or terrible. There's always nuance within that. So the horrors persist. So do I. So do we. Last week, leading up to this was so turbulent astrologically. I'm not going to go too deep into it right now. I'll talk more about it later, but this is a week of sitting in the shit. That's what my Taurus sun mother says. Sitting in the shit. It would feel inauthentic for me to talk about this new moon without recognizing that there are a lot of sharp edges in life, but typically with news, we see more of it and we're inundated with it quite often, usually more often than like positive, wholesome news. So I feel like part of what I want to talk about is how do we expand our capacity to sit with this shit, right? It's not comfortable. It's actually very uncomfortable. And I'm going to be talking a lot about how, yes, Taurus is a sign that's typically associated with comfort, but the opposite sign of Taurus is Scorpio, which is a sign typically known for sitting with discomfort. So this axis is present here as I'm speaking today. And as I'm exploring my own spiritual practices and my relationships with ancestors, I'm realizing that in order for us to move on and to heal and to be cycle breakers of negative cycles, we have to acknowledge the harder things. We have to sit with it and see it. And what's interesting is that there's a lot of dissonance within, I'll be like specific to US culture, where in some ways we live in a culture that worships death. Like war is so integral to our economy, to the ways that even like America was formed. And yet at the same time, it almost feels like a cheapened sense or like connection to death, where like on one hand, we're like death obsessed, but we're also terrified of death. It's like a taboo subject. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to acknowledge it. We don't even want to give it the reverence or respect that I personally think that it deserves. And this reminds me of this Bell Hooks quote, which is from her book, All About Love. Contemplating death has always been a subject that leads me back to love. This is really poignant to me. And it also is a process, contemplating death, that leads me back to spiritual hunger. Death gives our lives meaning. It's an ending. And Venus, the moon's ruler at the moment, which you can see a little bit of the chart down here with my cursor. So Venus is right here at Pisces, 28 degrees. So Venus is here. It's next to Saturn at 27 degrees. And then the North Node, this here, symbol right here, these are all connected. And when planets in astrology are close together, their energies begin to merge. And that's how we can analyze them and see what impact that they're having. So part of this energy is in some ways the worlds that we want to create, we have to commit to them knowing that we might not see the end result. And that's really hard to do. And this North Node, the North Node is a shadow point. It's not actually like a planet. It's actually a calculated point. And it's also connected in Vedic astrology to the dragon's head. So this mythology and the symbolism, there's hunger and there's appetite connected to the North Node. It's also making a sextile. So a sextile, it's kind of hard to see on this chart, but there is a bluish green line connecting Venus over here, Saturn and North Node to Uranus, which is at 26 degrees of Taurus. Sextiles are positive aspects, but they need some sort of activation. So it's in the room with us, but it's up to us if we want to work with this energy or not. Uranus here in Taurus is a earth shaker. Uranus is known as constant change. It's known as innovation or things that just kind of come out of nowhere and shift a lot of things. But it's in Taurus. So Taurus is a very fixed, intense, grounded sign. So when you have change in Taurus, it can feel like an earthquake. Or sorry, Uranus in Taurus, that kind of change can feel like Earth is breaking open and shifting and changing. So all of this is leading me to this big theme that I want us to think about and hold as I'm speaking. How do we satiate our spiritual hunger? On this side of the presentation, oh, excuse me. On this side of the presentation, you see another chart. This is actually Kurt Cobain's chart. And the reason why I'm bringing him into this is because I was doing research to see, okay, are there celebrities or, well-known people who have some of these natal placements that are happening in this new moon? And if you can see right here, he has a lot of Pisces. So he has Saturn at 28 degrees of Pisces and Venus at 26, as well as Mercury and the sun. If you look back at our chart, see how closely these are connected. Literally, his natal Venus is 2 degrees away from where Venus is right now, and Saturn, there's only 1 degree apart. This would have been his second Saturn return if he was still alive, and he died in his first. And I wanted to include him in this sermon, one, to honor his legacy, because he had a moon in Cancer. He had a Pisces stellium, which means a bunch of planets in the same sign. He was the king of vulnerability. And he channeled such raw emotive power, and he turned it into beauty and form, a very Piscean kind of thing, to take the sadness and the emotions and the confusion and turn it into something of beauty that other people can enjoy and connect to as well. And the irony is not lost on me when I think about how his music makes people feel less alone. He wrote, "The sun is gone, but I have light." So this is somebody who experienced on a natal level what we are experiencing collectively to some extent. A Venus-Saturn conjunction, when these two planets are together, I think that there's so much relational responsibility there, right? When we are in relationship with others, regardless of the form that that takes, we have a responsibility to not hurt other people, to uplift other people. That can be a very heavy weight to carry. And also, there's there's a cost to devotion, especially if you're devoted to authenticity and justice, which I think in his life, Kurt Cobain really prioritized those things. And we're even seeing now, in a political sense, how certain people within the system are being punished or are being made example of. So one example of this is in Wisconsin. A judge was recently arrested and accused of blocking an arrest of an undocumented person. So again, we see that when people can benefit from injustice, the way people actions can either be seen as like, oh, like I'm elevating this person, but in a way where it's like, if you act like this, these are the consequences. And, I deliberately phrased my question about how do we satiate our spiritual hunger? Because I don't think this is something that we do alone. Like, yes, we're all individuals, and yes, we all have to answer this question of what satiates us personally. But I really think that this idea of satiation, of fullness, of fulfillment is not an individual quest. This is a group project. And so I'm going to tell a little story, which is inspired by this meme that I have on the screen. I'm pretty sure this image is taken from like the art that Jehovah's Witnesses use in their like little booklets. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks very familiar. And as I'm thinking, I again want us to think about this idea of individual fulfillment and spirituality and our collective. So when I was a teenager, I studied with a Jehovah's Witness, which if you know me, that might seem surprising because I am not religious. My mom very much shielded my brothers and I from her Catholic upbringing, which, she didn't have the best time with that. In some ways, like her questioning and trying to go deeper with the things that she was taught didn't end well for her. And again, we see that in a lot of spiritual spaces in America where the more you question, there's a consequence for that. It's typically not a good consequence. So part of her process for renegotiating her spiritual hunger was, are there other faiths out there that can do what Catholicism couldn't do for me? And I said, I'll join. Why not? No matter that I was a queer pagan witch with no interest in converting ever, I was just curious. And my religious mentor was someone named Lisa. She had blonde, wispy bangs. She was a muralist painter. She had two Jack Russell Terriers, and we would talk for hours in my backyard patio as a kid or as a teenager. I could feel the breeze coming in and I can hear her laughter. And I really studied scripture, specifically Jehovah's Witness. They have like little booklets that kind of break things down for you. And I studied this critically and skeptically, which is easy to do because if you've ever looked at Jehovah's Witness logic, there's quite a bit of few holes in there. They have quite the penchant for the literal, which doesn't really resonate with me specifically, but this isn't a sermon about my experience with Jehovah's Witnesses. This is about all the ways that we can connect with divinity. What I'm really trying to say is this idea of God is our grand narratives. It's our subtleties, quiet echoes of divinity. I made this blackout poem from the template slides on this Canva presentation. If you can see, there's like a Sunday sermon at the top. And I don't know, this partially contributed to why I wanted to frame my talk as a sermon or some sort of like spiritual kind of talk. But I think I also found a new creative side quest, like turning scripture into blackout poems. I think that's probably sacrilegious, but I think it's a really interesting way to get to the meaning and like the deeper things and peel back those layers a little bit. So if you were to ask my 16-year-old self why there's so many different religious and spiritual belief systems, I talk about how energy is a multifaceted diamond. There are many ways to connect with divinity, just as there are many ways to be a human in this world, in this life. Some call it God, others call it spirit or the universe. Some people are polytheistic. There are multiple names. Some have no names. And all these titles, they're not as important because at the center, typically the messages are the same. There's a lot of overlap with a lot of the spiritual faiths in this world. And I think that's true because all of these things are true because we believe in them. And what we believe in shapes our realities. The main tenet of Earthseed in Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler is that we can shape God. God is power, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent. And yet, God is pliable. Honestly, the siren coming in at this specific point to really like emphasize the point is perfect. I'm going to start from and yet God is pliable, trickster, teacher, chaos, clay. God exists to be shaped. God is change. What we believe in to be true shapes our realities, and our realities are shaped by our bodies. The fire station by my house is not a paid actor in this presentation. Now, Taurus is an earth sign, and energy is very connected to the body for a Taurus. I feel like the experience of being hangry is a very Taurus coded experience. I know everybody can be hangry. Okay, this isn't like a Taurus specific experience, but I feel like Taurian perception of reality is literally influencing whether or not their body's needs are met. And I'm speaking as a Taurus moon, where if I am hungry, I cannot do anything. I can only focus on nourishing my body. So our bodies have this elevated importance from a Taurian perspective because it's the center of our sensual self. I feel like for me, as a Taurus moon, and also I'm a Capricorn sun and rising, there's a lot of earth in my chart. Like I was meant to be put on this earth so I can feel things in my body and I can transmute those into beauty and power or whatever I want. I really believe that's my perspective and what I'm meant to do with this energy. And Taurus is also symbolized by the cow or the bull. That's why you see a lot of cows in my presentation and also in the advertisement for this event. Cows have multi-part stomachs. So they have a stomach that has four separate parts, and they have this because they eat really fibrous plants and they need complex systems to be able to break these things down. Um, we have those too. We don't have four parts of our stomach per se, but we have a system in our body, systems in our bodies that process, that break down, that digest. So when you think about those, right, that our bodies are these complex systems that have all these innate abilities, we don't even have to tell our bodies typically to do it, they just do it. It makes sense to me that systems of oppression target the body. The body is very politicized, and depending on, the certain aspects of your bodies, there are acceptable bodies, there are unacceptable bodies. The body is policed. And so of course the body keeps the score. Of course the body remembers. This is unfortunate news for all of us with bodies. When I was 14, I was hospitalized from complications due to having an eating disorder. And I was really lucky to access treatment and renegotiate the relationship I had with my body and with hunger. But my body still remembers how it felt. It remembers that hunger. But you know what else it remembers? It remembers being full again. And it's so interesting to me that within spiritual traditions, and specifically I'll like orient this to Christian Western perspectives, because that was my experience and that's kind of the context that I'm in. But our body is this channel of truth, and yet the body is consistently seen as something that's shameful or something that is subordinate to our minds or our spirits, right? And like this idea that spiritual salvation can only exist in the mind or the afterlife. And we're often told that our body is like dangerous, that its appetites are harmful in some ways. And so, of course, we have complicated relationships with our bodies when we're being told that like our body and our physical self is incongruent with spirituality or spiritual fulfillment. So I feel like Christian ideology specifically has cemented this idea that bodies are not to be trusted, and neither are our sensations. And I'm not buying that anymore, because every time I return back to my body, I realize how much it knows. Jessica Lanyadoo, which is that's an astrologer that I really love. She has a podcast called Ghost of a Podcast. I highly recommend you check it out. But she was talking about the Sun square Pluto, or sorry, the Sun Pluto square that happened last week that is present a little bit in this astrology. And she said the phrase, "What you don't transform, you transmit." This feels really relevant because we store things in our bodies. And when we don't digest them or transform them or even acknowledge that they're there, we begin to transmit. And it's typically things we don't want to transmit. And it's happening on a subconscious level because we're not accessing that consciousness. And unfortunately, there's literally no way around this. You have to face something if you want to change it. All right, so I'm going to get more into technical astrology. This is the full chart that's being shared right now. So we have the sun and moon in Taurus up here. It's making a square, so an uncomfortable, sort of conflict-oriented position with Pluto. And also that is opposing Mars, and Mars is creating a square with the moon and the sun. So this is called a T-square in astrology. And typically at the top point, the triangle, which is where the sun and the moon are, it's like whatever tension is happening between the two planets on either axis is being channeled there. Okay. So that's why part of this talk is like, yes, Taurus, new moon, gorgeous, wonderful, but it's like, there's a lot of other things happening that make it sort of spicy, make it sort of uncomfortable, elevate it to this next level of like, this feels significant in some ways. So to me, there's the energy that I think of when I look at this. This is cycle breaking. We are tending the seeds of pivotal change. And again, this is a new moon. The moon is dark. We can't see the product or the result of the work that we're doing. This is the time where we might be taking actions in our personal lives that are going to make huge impacts in the future or in other people's lives. And also, like, yes, big, gigantic, sure, but also there's this emphasis on the small shifts and changes that we make in our realities that can materialize into these big, magnificent kind of shifts and change. And I think part of this, right, if you want to access this alchemic astrology that really is about breakthroughs or breaking things down or digesting, there has to be a certain commitment to the truth. There's a scene in Charlotte's Web where Wilbur the spider first meets, oh my God, no, not Wilbur the spider, sorry, Wilbur the pig meets Charlotte, who's the spider of the story. And she's like, I have a web because I'm a spider and I eat flies and I trap flies and I love blood. Blood is so good. And Wilbur's like, oh, don't say that. Please don't say things like that. And Charlotte replies, why not? It's true. And I have to say what's true. Such a simple thing to say. It's true, and I have to say what is true. But it's so challenging to actually practice that and to embody that. And it's worth remembering that we're not alone in this journey of truth telling. We can do this together. So Growing Culture posted this on Instagram, this image and quote that you see on my slide. I really love it. It says, we don't mourn the cracks of empire, we plant seeds in them. We're finding opportunity in the chaos. Having faith in this long, arduous process of creation as the world as we know it crumbles. And that's really scary because the change and the collapse, it feels bad. I can speak from my own body. It doesn't feel good. I see things happening on the news and it doesn't feel good. But I guess I'm trying to even reframe the way I think about good and bad sensations, because sometimes things feel bad in our body, and it's actually good that we're experiencing that. And it's telling us something about what we're witnessing or experiencing. I feel like we can look at things, right? And we can think one way and we can think collapse and we can focus on all the ways things are crumbling. And then we can also look at it and be like, okay, there are significant gaps now. There are places and spaces where we can fill with seeds and new growth. That to me is exciting. And that's how I want to orient myself, as opposed to thinking only of collapse as something negative. I mean, it is, right? Like, it's not typically when things fall or crumble, like, it's not a good experience. But again, this idea of framing it as opportunity, like, what can we do? How can we be empowered to take action during this time? And I think, again, locating it in our bodies are that sort of compass that we can have. If we don't turn away and deny truth in our bodies, in some ways, that's like a freeing experience. So my conclusion before I move on to tarot and send it over to Sienna. We're not on this hero's journey, okay? There's not one of us who's going to save the rest. I'm thinking of us as an ensemble cast, and we are reappropriating this misused energy, this negative energy that's being used to oppress and divide, and we're transforming it into something powerful and magical and encompassing. Cups can't overflow when they're alone. If we all had a cup and we put it together, we can make a fountain where all of the cups are bubbling and spilling over, and it's not like any of them ever dries up because there's constant cycle and flow. We're all these individuals clinking our cups collectively, and we're transcending the limitations and memories of our bodies at the same time while honoring them together. So now you know why I say, how do we satiate our spiritual hunger? Because this is a group project. And I am aware of time, and I'm going to quickly move through the tarot cards of this that I pulled, and also let y'all know that at the end of this, when you receive the recording, you'll also receive a really cute PDF of all these tarot cards, which are from the Lisa Sturl Modern Witch Tarot deck. And there are questions that correspond with the card significations and some of the things that I talked about. So this is an opportunity to, again, go deeper with some of the themes that are present in this new moon in Taurus. So I'm going to do like a quick sort of offhanded Taurus read of all these energies that are present here, starting with the Three of Pentacles. Again, this is a group project. This literally depicts a group project where somebody is creating, somebody is modeling, somebody is teaching. Are there areas in your life where you could invite more collaborators, where you could turn to somebody who's maybe more skilled than you and ask for their advice or their guidance? And it's interesting that we have three and then we also have four. In minor arcana, we have 1 through 10. So typically, when you pull cards, if you're having a lot of cards around like 1 or 2, you're at the initiatory beginning stages of something. If you're at 9 or 10, you're at the end. We're sort of like at the kind of beginning where maybe we're just figuring out how to all work together. And it's not easy. We see the Four of Cups is a card where there's opportunities, where there's new connections, where there's like things that haven't even been sort of materialized yet, but they're there. And we might not be paying attention to them. We might be thinking, oh my gosh, I only have 3 cups. I have so little. I don't know what to do. Or it could even mean like we're so overwhelmed with what we have literally in front of us that we're not even considering all these other things and all these other possibilities. To me, this card reminds me of how I feel when I read really, really upsetting news and I get so fixated on what terrible things is happening that I'm forgetting again that opportunity in chaos. And lastly, we have the sun. I was so happy to pull this card. The sun is a major arcana, and it's literally an energy that is so radiant and childlike, and not like childlike in the immature sense, but childlike in the sense where children have less societal conditioning. They are more likely to connect authentically with themselves, their feelings, their bodies, because they don't have that like rigorous conditioning that a lot of adults, go through. I mean, they do, obviously. Children are existing in our society, but like less so. And so to me, this feels like a really positive end note for this sermon because I feel like the sun is again reminding us that pleasure and joy are really important. Like, yeah, we might be doing the work of dealing with all the stuff happening in the world and building these new systems and not really getting to see the fruits of our labor quite yet. And the sun is like, but don't forget, like you can feel good, that you can take care of your body. You can nourish the things that give you pleasure and hope. And that's actually so important to sustain all the other hard work, all the other discomfort. So I'll end there and remind you that you have more opportunities to connect and reflect with these. You will also get a PDF of this presentation where I have some of the links that you can connect with me, as well as Sienna's links too. So with that being said, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I hope that you take what resonates with you and leave the rest. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to pin Sienna up here and let you take over.
Woohoo! Thank you, Aryn. That was so beautiful and grounding. Um, and it's all going to tie so well into our movement meditation. We're gonna start with well, I was talking with Aryn right before the meeting that Taurus rules the neck, the throat, the shoulders, and I'm particularly inspired too by this sermon that we're in this together. It's a group project, and how do we most directly connect with others? It's through our voices and everyone being able to throw their voice into the pot and share their experience. And for those of us like living with trauma and it's like varying degrees, I know like for me, this is kind of like the first place that shuts off. And the less like connected we are to the breath, which is the channel for our voice, then the less we're able to contribute to the group project. So we're gonna start seated and then we'll kind of move onto our back. So just making sure that you have a little space on the floor to roll around a little bit. But wherever you are, just starting on your chair, whatever, go ahead and ground your feet on the floor. Maybe feel your pelvis down connected into your chair. And let's start with the eyes closed. And I'm going to give us just a couple seconds to kind of drop in, digest the sermon, digest all the stuff we learned about that astrological forecast, and really start to highlight in your mind the things that stuck out to you and start to bring like an intention into the movement practice. So, taking a few easy breaths and digesting. Great. And then start to open your eyes, or you can keep just listening. And we're going to start to stretch the neck. I'm going to take my right hand behind my back, and I'm pulling it across my back with my left arm. And I'm leaning my head to my left shoulder. So I'm pulling on my right arm and leaning my head to the left shoulder. And you'll feel that stretch go down the side of your neck. And taking a breath there. Begin to turn your chin towards your shoulder. Feel where that stretch goes. Just keeping it really gentle. And then squaring the head, bringing it back upright, switching your grip. So now I'm using my right hand to grab my left wrist and drag it across my back. Bringing my right ear to my right shoulder. And turning the chin towards the right shoulder. Good. Squaring the head, bringing it back up, letting go of your wrists. I'm going to clasp my fingers and create a little basket under the base of my skull. And from here, with my elbows narrow, I'm trying to traction or like pull my skull up out of the neck and the shoulders and the ribs. And then from here, keeping this traction and this basket, I'm going to let my neck fold backwards. And I'm kind of using my fingertips to push those cervical vertebrae, so the bones of your neck, using my fingers to kind of push them forward into the front of my throat. And my head is just folding backwards. We're bringing that curve back into the neck. We kind of start to lose this curve from our contemporary postures at the computer, in the car, rotting on the couch, watching Netflix. We all do it, but we just want to bring some space back. Good. And then gently using your hands, carrying your head back up on your spine. From here, let's take our hands again. Begin to massage your face. I'm just gonna, you could use fingertips, you could use knuckles, and just begin to draw little circles around your cheeks. And changing directions. Maybe one direction feels stickier than the other direction. Keep moving in the direction that feels more restricted. Good. I'm going to take my fingertips to the sides of my nose, pressing down, almost like a lymphatic massage, and dragging outwards and upwards towards the temples. Keep going past the temples. You could even begin to run your hands through your hair. And again, coming back to the nose, pressing down, spreading the cheekbones, dragging the fingers out, spreading the temples. You'll feel it pull your eyes back a little, dragging the fingers and the hands through the head, through the hair. One more like that. Just opening up all the cavities in the skull. Good. Then I'm going to take my tongue and poke it through my cheek and just drawing circles with my tongue and my cheek. And then switching sides. Good, relaxing the tongue. And let's draw some big circles with the head. Just making sure that it's really coming from your neck and your skull and not necessarily your ribs and chest. We are going to get there, but we're starting from the top to get to the bottom. And just starting to draw a line or a connection from the head or the brain and our minds to our bodies, and that they're not necessarily two different things. Your body is thinking as much as like the brain organ is, switching directions. Because the brain doesn't just start and end in the skull, right? It extends down the spine and spreads its nerves all the way through the ends of the body. So to me, they're one and the same, though that's a completely bigger metaphysical conversation that we could have at the next session. And then let's draw some big circles with the shoulder. So sending the armpits forward, up, back, and down. And then changing directions. Just feeling all the ways that your shoulders can go. Shoulders, this is a really shallow joint, so there's a lot of options for where the shoulders could go. We have collarbones in the front, humerus bones, our upper arm bones on the sides, shoulder blades on the back. So it's just like a coat hanger all on top of the rib cage. Cool. We're going to reach the arms up overhead and then take that shoulder shrug. So you're lifting your shoulders up to your ears and then just let them drop down. And again, shrugging up, feel the squish and drop them down. One more. Cool. Melting the arms. And one more thing with the head. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. We're going to protract and retract the skull. So we're going to slide the skull forward into computer posture, driving posture, right? And just kind of feel where it's compressed here. And then we're going to reverse that. I'm kind of smushing my face into the back of my skull and sliding back. I come into like a double chin, so it's not my chin lifting up. It's my skull sliding forward in front of me, in front of the ribs, and then it's sliding back to the back of the ribs. I'm just taking that a few times, exaggerating each direction. Forward head, and then into almost like a flat military neck. Two more. Great, cool. And finding somewhere in the middle of those two to keep the head. From here, let's go hands on the chest, upper chest, collarbones. And we're going to begin to drop into our breathing. If you want to close your eyes or soften your gaze, this would be a great place to do so. And beginning to notice your breath. Notice the feeling of the air coming in on your inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. Just gentle through the mouth, as if you're blowing out a birthday candle. Keep going, and as you inhale, begin to lift the palate of your mouth like you're about to yawn. Maybe you do yawn, that's totally fine. Just starting to create a sense of like cavernous or width between the ears, width between the nostrils, width between the roof of the mouth and the tongue. One more. Good. We're gonna keep with that lifted palate, breathing. And now as you exhale, I want you to hum. And I won't be able to hear you, but I'm gonna sing along with you. So we'll inhale. Beautiful. And already, hopefully you can start to feel that resonance, that vibration. That is the life energy going through you, the breath, taking your inhale. Well, we're gonna do one more like that, and then we're gonna shift focus. But make sure we're lifting from the front to the back of the palate of the mouth. Now we're taking hands on ribs, on the sides of the ribs. So not quite up into the armpits, but also make sure it's not down on the squishiness of your waist. So you're feeling the bones of your rib cage. The rib cage houses the diaphragm, which is our primary breathing or muscle group. It's going to draw the oxygen in, filling up the lungs, and it's going to release and let the oxygen out. So now as we inhale, we're going to inhale side to side into the hands, feeling the ribs expand outwards and upwards. Yeah, and on the exhale, just feeling how the ribs, they just drape down, they soften down. There's no need to force or grip or pull them down actively. It's going to happen on its own. So palate of the mouth lifting, ribs widening on our inhale. And I'm beginning to feel that vibration of the hum and the resonance, not just in through my mouth and the palate of my mouth, but also through this diaphragm. Let's take three more, focusing on the rib movement. Inhale. Out of the mouth keeps lifting, your neck sprouts up out of the ribs. Maybe you feel a little taller. One more. Mm, Beautiful. From here, we're going to begin to move the whole spine. So I'm scooting forward on the edge of my seat, and I'm going to tip the camera down a little so you can see. If you take yoga, you know cat-cow. We're basically doing cat-cow seated. So we're going to inhale and prepare, breathing wide into the ribs and the palate of the mouth. The exhale is going to rock us back into the cat. My ribs have swung back behind my pelvis. My shoulders are resting on my ribs. I'm rounding my spine and drawing my belly in and up. The inhale tips us forward into the cow phase of the cat-cow. I'm lifting my chest, I'm lifting my tail, lengthening my belly with tension. Avoid breaking at the back of the neck. So we have just a really long curve, a really long back bend of the spine. Again, we exhale, rock it back. Inhale to tip forward. Again. Two more. Good. Rest. Now we're gonna add a rotation. Um, just following along with me. I'm taking my right hand and closing my left nostril. My elbow is high. I'm making space for this right lung. I'm going to begin to turn towards that high elbow. And as I turn, I'm imagining or creating an energy of my elbow and my opposite knee. So on this side, my right elbow, my left knee are stretching apart, like there's a rubber band between the two. And I'm gonna sniff twice. It's a double inhale. So I go sniff, sniff. Let's hum back to the middle. The second inhale should help you rotate just a little further. Maybe it's an inch further. So on the other side, my left hand is closing my right nostril. My elbow is high. I'm turning towards the left elbow and reaching my right knee in the opposite direction. Inhale. Second sniff. Humming through the middle, that's your exhale. Again, slowly switching the hand. My eyes are turning as well. Getting taller as you twist. And switch. And switch. Switch. One more set each way. Beautiful. From here, this is where I'm going to move onto my back. So, field trip, moving my camera over to the yoga mat. I also recommend, but not necessary, just grabbing a soft, thin pillow. You could also grab like a sweatshirt, fold it up, something that's soft, but also not super thick. I'm gonna lay down on my back. My knees are bent, feet grounded, and bringing your awareness into the back of your body now. We have the support of the floor, we have the support of the earth. I'm gonna crisscross my arms over my chest as well. And just give it a little rock back and forth. So getting the ribs really heavy into the ground. Breathing into the back of the diaphragm, the back of the lungs. Good. And then settling into the middle and keeping the ribs really heavy. We're going to begin to isolate the skull again and the head. So I'm going to nod my chin up and nod my chin down. And it'll feel a little as if you're scraping the back of your hair against your pillow or the floor. Just feeling that range. And then we're gonna keep nodding the chin up and down, but we're going to move our eyeballs in the opposite direction. Our eyes are so closely linked to our neck and our skull, muscularly, fascially. And I find this to be very calming and great to unwind tension there in the neck. So as my chin nods up, I'm going to turn my eyeballs, my gaze down. I'm seeing my nose. And then as my chin pulls down, my eyes nod up. I'm trying to see my eyebrows. Again, chin goes up, eyes look down. Chin goes down, eyes look up. Notice if the eyes are jumping back and forth. Can you make it a smooth transition between the two? So you're seeing all the points in between up and down. Right? It's never black and white. It's never binary. There's all that gray in the middle. Good. Find the middle with your head and your eyes. Same thing. We're gonna scrape the back of the skull right and left. So you're shaking your head no, but keeping really heavy through the back of the ribs and the back of the skull. Keeping that looseness in the neck that we found. And then same thing, adding the turn of the eyes. So my chin is turning to the left, but my eyes are looking to the right. Smooth transition between as my chin goes right and my eyes go left. And back across to the other side. Heavy head, heavy eyes, heavy nose, heavy tongue, heavy brain, heavy throat. Last one. Good, finding the middle. I'm gonna take my prop out. Again, if you don't have a prop, no worries at all. If you do have a prop, place it between the inner thighs and walk your feet and legs all the way together. This next exercise is a deep core exercise. So we're really trying to use the breath to pump the core. My arms are outstretched overhead, like I'm in a high V. If this doesn't feel good in your shoulders, then go out to a T. And then I'm going to nod my chin down, trying to get that flat neck feeling again. I'm pushing my ribs down and my skull down and my arms down. I'm squeezing my legs into the block and I'm going to tuck my tail so my low back is pressing down into the floor as well and the top of my tailbone. So think we're trying to get the spine flat, flat, flat into the floor. We're lengthening the curves of the spine. So everything is pushing down into the ground, and honestly, just to hold that and keep that pressure downwards is already a lot of work. From here, we're going to take 10 breaths. We're inhaling into the floor, and we're going to hum. With each hum, each exhale, I'm trying to draw my belly deeper and deeper and deeper, hugging my organs like I'm getting hollow or steamrolling my stomach. In and up. So again, chin down, arms pressing down, ribs pressing down, low back pressing down, thighs squeezing your prop if you have one, feet pressing down. We inhale into the floor. Inhale, pressing everything down, hollowing the belly. Do 5 more. Inhaling into the floor. Arms are pressing down, skull is pressing down, ribs are pressing down, low back is pressing down, feet are pressing down, thighs are squeezing. Three. Twice more. Breathing into the floor. Arms are pressing down, skull is pressing down, chin to throat, ribs are pressing down, low back is pressing down, thighs are hugging, feet are pressing down. One more. And relax. From here, let's spread out into an X on the floor. You can start to circle your ankles or your wrists. So that was a lot of center body stuff. And let's connect it to the ends of the body, our distal ends, the limbs, keeping that heaviness into the floor. I'm going to begin to take my right arm. We're going to kind of crawl across ourselves like a starfish. So I'm reaching my right arm across my body. Watch that the shoulder doesn't lift up to the ear. And I'm going to reach so much that it pulls my armpit across. And now I'm twisting. Keep checking in with those ribs. Keep them heavy into the floor. Your sandbag breaking open into gravity. Dragging that right arm across until it folds you over onto your stomach. Let's go back the way that we came with the right leg. So your right arm started that side. Your right leg is going to flip you back onto your back. So I'm going to take this right leg, crisscross over the back of the left leg. Everything is resisting the rotation, getting pulled in two directions. My toe finds the floor. It's dragging across the floor. My fingertips are going to be very last. Delay the fingertips, delay the end of your arm. Rolling back to your X. Let's do that one more time. Taking that right arm across. Reaching, reaching, reaching. Reaching for your goals, reaching for the new moon. Fingertips maybe find the floor and they're dragging across the floor. Everything is still heavy. Your lower body is resisting. It doesn't want to come. Oh, until it has to. And now you're flat on your belly again. And then your right leg initiates this side. It's lifting and crossing the midline over the left leg, reaching toe tips away from fingertips. Keep breathing into the floor. Heaviness through the ribs. Ah, great. Let's go to the other side. I have to scoot so that I have room. My left arm is going to initiate. It's crawling across my chest, reaching across the body. The lower body's resisting. My fingertips find the floor. They're dragging across the floor. I'm getting a big belly stretch, like across my obliques. And then I'm flat on my stomach. Initiating with the leg on this side. Delay your arms and your upper body. Your left leg crisscrosses over the midline. It's pulling your hip open. Stretching your waist apart. And we have one more set. Starting with the left arm. Crisscross over the body. Reaching away, reaching away, reaching away. Resist with your lower body. Delaying the hips, delaying the legs. Onto stomach. One more time, starting with the leg. Crisscrossing. Heavy armpits. Heavy lungs. Good. We're gonna roll over one more time. Just pick a side that feels good to you, and we're gonna finish on our bellies. So I'm gonna reach my left arm across. That's just my body. I'm now flat on my belly. I'm gonna draw my hands in underneath me. I'm gonna lift my organs and push back into a child's pose. Let's tuck the toes for this one and stretch under the feet. Sitting back in your child's pose. Allow your pelvis to yawn open. So the sit bones are widening, the pelvic floor is stretching. The feet are stretching. Let's come back to the breath. Maybe you hum on your exhale again. Good. On your next exhale, begin to lift your belly off of your thighs, slowly dragging your spine up to sitting, stacking your head back over your ribs and your pelvis. And then let's come into a quadruped shape. Let's find that cat-cow again that we started with while sitting. Exhale, rounding the back, pushing down with the arms and the legs. Let your head hang. We're stretching the back of the body by engaging the front of the body. And then inhale as you arch. And as I'm arching my back, I'm gently dragging the floor with my arms into my knees. I'm tractioning my spine, pulling my ribs away from my pelvis. Again, I exhale and curl. Inhale and arch, drag the floor into your knees. 2 more like that. Exhale, push down with the armpits and the legs. Inhale and arch, drag the floor into your knees. Heart reaching forward, tail lifting up. 1 more. And an arch. I lied. We're gonna do 1 more and we're gonna pause in the curl, an angry cat. Check in with your shoulders, draw them down away from your ears, even though your spine is rounding. You're pushing down into the floor. You're lifting your organs out of gravity. We're gonna take 10 exhales on a it's like hyperventilating through your mouth. Here we go. 3, 4. And then arch through to your inhale. Drag the floor into lifting the front of your lungs long through the back of the neck. Don't break the back of your neck. We hold here. We have 10 sniffing breaths. Inhaling 10 times through the nose. 3, 4. One more set each way, curling your back. 10 exhales through the mouth. 3, 4. And then into your cow. Hello to my cat. 10 sniffing breaths, inhaling through your nose. 3, 4. Good. Go ahead and sit back towards your heels. Push yourself into a little ball. Let your head hang again. We're going to drop the heels down, lift the hips. My knees are soft. So especially if you're tight through your hamstrings, just take it easy here. Shake your head out. Heavy into gravity. Bending one knee. Switching sides, bend the other knee. Soften both knees. And begin to wiggle your toes. So we started right at the head, the neck, the shoulders. And now we're about to get back up on our feet. I'm just wiggling my toes. Maybe rocking your feet left and right. Just trying to smush the feet into the floor. If you're on a mat, think of like making footprints into your mat. And here you could think of like the feet are the end of your brain, right? Where your nerve endings land. There's so many nerve endings in the bottoms of our feet. This is how we connect to the earth and gravity. Then I'm going to find the middle of my feet, putting pressure into the triangle of the foot, the big toe knuckle, the pinky toe knuckle, the center of the heel. And from here, we inhale and exhale really slowly, pushing the feet down. Begin to roll up through your spine. Just easy shoulders, easy head. Slowly getting taller. Standing up erect. Your head will be the last thing to arrive. And once you're on your feet, go ahead and close your eyes or soften your gaze. Let's take the hands back to the chest or over your heart. And just starting to drop back in, drop back into your breath, drop back into the movement of the ribs as you breathe, the lifting of the palate of the mouth. Good. Inhaling wide ribs. As you exhale, just start to feel as if you could push the floor down with your legs and feet, and your spine could grow upwards. The palate of the mouth floating up off of the arches of the feet. And you're just getting lighter and more spacious. We're going to breathe like that for 3 more. Just inhale. Exhale, your lower body pushes down against gravity. It grows your spine more vertical, more space through the waist, through the spine, through the neck and the shoulders. Making sure you're not locking out your knees, still soft in your knees. 2 more. Last one. Good. Flutter your eyes open. Relax your arms by your side. Take a moment to take in the space that you're in with your eyes. See the room. See your surroundings, your present moment. Last breath, inhale. Cool. And that's our meditation.
Yay! Sienna, you're so good.
So good.
And I love that this is a recording. So if y'all want to revisit this, I definitely feel like I am going to want to. Like I feel very grounded right now. So thank you for that. And thank you everybody for attending and also those of you watching in the future. Hope everybody has a good rest of their new moon. Happy new moon. Thank you. Bye everybody.